Welcome back to Living Growing Kitchen. Today is an exciting day because we're starting something brand new on the channel. At the end of each month, I'm going to share everything we harvested from the garden, how much it weighed, and keep a running season total so we can watch this little backyard garden grow. We planted everything back in April, and after 2 months of watering, weeding, waiting, and maybe some checking in on the plants a little too often, June finally rewarded us with our very first harvests of the season. So let's see what came out of the garden this month. Our very first harvest happened on June 13th. And the very next day, this basket held our second harvest of the season, 4.4 ounces, not exactly enough to feed the neighborhood, but every garden has to start somewhere. And before we harvest the rest of June, let's take a look around the garden. And this is the first raised bed on the left, which has our yellow wax beans along with the cucumbers. And in the middle, we have our tomatoes growing on the Florida Weave support system. And on the right, we have tomatoes in tomato cages along with a few other plants like cucumbers and okra. Okay, so now we're going to go into the garden and I'm going to pick some of these yellow wax beans and cucumbers. I had a cucumber here that I didn't realize was there, so I'm going to have to pick that because it's huge, or it's looking like it's going to get too big. So pick that one into the basket, and then I'm going to pick through these yellow wax beans, and I really like yellow wax beans because they're really easy to find. When I've grown green wax beans or green beans, they kind of hide behind the leaves. So yellow or purple potted or striped varieties are a lot easier to find and it makes picking through them a lot quicker. So now I'm just going to go through the garden and look for any cucumbers I may have missed before I move on to the next one. So this bed is 4 feet by 7 feet long, and then the other beds are 4 feet by 8 feet long. So just to give you an idea of the size beds that I have growing my vegetables in. And I don't have all the beds filled up yet. I have 4 of the 6 beds filled with garden soil and compost, and the last 2 I'm just filling up with garden scraps until I can get enough, and then I'll top off the top with soil, and hopefully those will be ready by the fall. And now I'm going through and kind of showcasing how many flowers are on these cucumber plants. So I've been harvesting cucumbers and I can see a lot of little ones forming, and we also have a lot of flowers. Oh, right, I forgot to mention we have this little wheel bug or an assassin bug, which I'm really happy to see. I know it's kind of scary to see it because they do bite or they can bite. But we have these little bugs. I haven't actually found them yet, but they're eating the leaves on the bean plants, leaving little holes all over the leaves. So when I saw this carnivorous insect, the assassin bug that I just pulled up, I'm really happy to see it there to help it control the pest population on my beans. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap up picking up these beans. Just going to fast forward the video here. As you can see, it can take a while if you're picking beans and you can't see them against the background, like green beans against green leaves. It does take a while to go through it carefully, and I don't want to knock over any little baby beans growing. So, okay, off to the zucchini that just passed through. There weren't any zucchini to pick at this time, so I'm just going to go back to the tomato area. And these are sun gold tomatoes. They're one of the earliest varieties in my garden this year. There's just something very magical about the first tomatoes that ripen in your garden, and I've been waiting and watching them grow for a while now, so it's nice to see them change color. And then the raspberry lianas, these also have been producing beautifully, and I'm really excited to start picking those. All right, so June 21st, the harvest came in at 7.3 ounces, and you can tell the garden is starting to wake up now. A couple days later, I'm back outside for another harvest. I'm starting off with tomatoes. Here, the raspberry lianas have a nice red one that's ready to pick. I do like picking tomatoes when they're ripe, but it's also a good idea to get them a little before they're fully ripe. They have all the flavor already developed, but picking them a little early can also help prevent pest damage where critters or bugs can damage the ready-to-eat fruit. Okay, here I am harvesting the Space Master cucumbers. These have little bumps on them. I didn't want to leave them on there too long because then the longer you leave them, the larger the seeds become when you start harvesting them. And then I also run the risk that I might forget about them and then they'll start to turn yellow and turn a little bit bitter. So I just picked a few more beans and off to the zucchini plants. I'm looking around to see if I see anything to pick, and yep, there's one there. I'm trying to pick them at a good size and not allow them to get too large, as they can grow very quickly and surprise you with a giant zucchini overnight. I've never had an issue with this, but I've had many people tell me that zucchini skin can get tough or hard, and the flavor inside can get bland and dry if the zucchini is allowed to stay on the plant too long. And I don't know if that's an issue in areas where it's less humid, but in my zone 8B on the Virginia coast, I've never had an issue with that before. Here I am harvesting a Monica cucumber. I really like these. They kind of stay a little bit on the smaller side, and instead of having little bumps on them, they have kind of a prickly skin, but when you wash it underwater, all the little prickly things fall off, but you can see they're kind of a smaller size cucumber. All right, so let's go back inside, and today's harvest is 1 pound, 12.6 ounces, mostly cucumbers, but very exciting. Okay, now it's a couple days later, and I'm just going back in to check the cucumbers because I always find new ones out there whenever I go out. So that is exciting every time you go out. With cucumbers, especially, you may find a surprise cucumber, or you just will have new cucumbers ready. And sometimes I get that with tomatoes, but cucumbers, I don't know, sometimes they're kind of hard to see behind the leaves. I'll be looking straight at it and I won't see it. So this one probably should have harvested a couple days ago. But into the basket, and then we're going to just walk through and see if there's any other ones. I kind of leave some on there if they're not ready for picking, especially if I have some already in the fridge or in the counter, but you can pick them a little early if you need a cucumber already, or just leave them on the vine, as long as they're not turning yellow, but also you don't want to leave them on the vine too long because they'll start losing their flavor. So let's see what we got. Okay, 3 nice shaped cucumbers, and I'm just gonna check the Monicas and see if there's any more. This one actually looks like it's turning a little bit yellow in the video. It didn't seem too yellow, and it didn't actually change. I already ate it by the time that I made this video, so I didn't actually notice any flavor change. And on to the tomatoes. And it looks like I might have another raspberry Liana. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick that yet. It looks like it's going to rain sometime soon, so I don't want to leave them on there too long. Because I'm afraid that they might start splitting. And that's something that I don't always remember until I actually start getting tomatoes that start splitting. And then I wonder why didn't I think about that already? So there's a cucumber that I missed. Kind of hard to see from the other side. I'm going to grab that one for the basket and take it inside. Okay, this harvest is all cucumbers. Okay, let's take it inside and weigh it. So now we're putting it back on the scale, and this harvest was 2 pounds, 1.4 ounces. And here we are a couple days later with more cucumbers. Okay, I basically set the scale to 0 and then put all the fruits and vegetables back in to see what the scale says, and it's 2 pounds, 5.7 ounces. And now we're at the next day, harvesting again. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm just clearing out some of the cucumber leaves. They will naturally start to turn brown and kind of die off. And you can leave them there, but I don't want to really attract any cucumber beetles. So I will clip some of them off if they're starting to die back and move the leaves to another place like my compost. So hopefully it does the smell of the cucumbers don't attract any pests. And I'm just going to go through checking my other, that was the Monica cucumber, and then I got a Sun Gold tomato, and now I'm looking through the Space Master cucumber, which is growing a lot bigger than I thought. I thought the package said 2 to 3 feet, and it seems like it's growing a lot taller and larger, and it sure does produce a lot of cucumbers. I didn't think, I have 6 plants, and it seems like they're producing large cucumbers and a lot of them. And some of them are hiding behind leaves. So I'm really happy with that type of cucumber. And here we go with the tomato tomatoes. I'm going to pick some of these. And if you can see, just like I was talking about earlier, how they can split in the rain, or if you water a little more than or a little more often, you might get your tomatoes splitting. So for me, I try to harvest them a little bit earlier than super ripe, so it can have less chances of splitting. And then if you're hand watering, try to water consistently and keep in mind if there's any rain, because all it takes is one big uh, extra jump in water, and then that can make your tomatoes split. The risk is more for the larger tomatoes, but these are large cherry tomatoes, so um, I had one split so far. And I just want to show you a technique. I don't know if it's really easy to see in the video here, but tomatoes have a little section that if you push on it the opposite way, you actually don't need anything like scissors to cut them off. They'll actually just separate from the plant without too much effort. If you push on that little section to separate it from the plant, it makes it really easy. Man, tomato tomatoes produce so many tomatoes and they're such big plump cherries. Okay, so I am resetting the scale. Gonna put all the fruit and vegetables right back on. And let's see how much we got. Okay, so here we go. 1 pound, 3.4 ounces, which is great. Okay, now this is the last day of June, the final harvest. And let's see what we got out here. I try to pick things in the morning when everything is nice and plump. I have to say this vine died, so I think it's time to harvest the squash, but we'll add that in a second. Let me just double check all the cucumbers. This is really fun to go get. So that was the Space Master cucumber, and then this is the Monica cucumber. I also have some Japanese cucumbers on the other side, but they haven't really produced anything yet. And in the past, they kind of produce more later in the season, and I like the Monicas because they're really early producing cucumbers. But now I've tried the Space Master cucumber for the first time this season, and I really like those too. So those will probably be on something that I'll continue growing. The skin on the Space Master cucumber is a little thicker too, so I think they'll last a little bit longer than the Monica cucumbers. Okay, here's the tiny spaghetti squash, grew in a pot. And yeah, I have to harvest it because the vine has already died. And there's a second one there, and you can see the vine is starting to wilt, and it'll probably be ready in the next couple days. And I'm just going to grab some tomatoes. And this is our final harvest of June. Let's bring it inside and see what the total is. All right, it's 2 pounds and 4 ounces, which makes the whole month of June 9 pounds and 15.1 ounces, which, yeah, that's pretty cool. So check back with us again, or check back here again next month where we'll total up the month of July. And I'm really excited to make this a monthly series because it'll be fun to watch the harvest grow as a season goes on and as the season changes. Right now, the tomatoes are just getting started, and the peppers, I haven't harvested any of those. They're still growing, and the cucumbers, they're producing a lot every week, which will be time to start seeding some new cucumbers in soon to make sure I have a cucumber harvest all summer. And hopefully those little okra plants that I had that were only like 1 or 2 inches tall, hopefully they'll decide to finally wake up and start growing. And if you enjoyed today's harvest tour, let me know in the comments what you're harvesting in your garden. And I'd love to hear what you're gardening and what's growing well in your garden this season. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe so you don't miss next month's harvest. I have a feeling July is going to be a busy one. Thanks so much for spending time in the garden with me today.